Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and I welcome all of you back to another Rage video, where tonight, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know why it is I decided that just for the sake of it, we're going to go through the entirety of Kill 'Em All, but I think, you know what, fuck it, why not? Because I feel like after listening to Hit the Lights yesterday for the first time in nearly 14 months, it made me realize something very, very interesting about Metallica, is that they are very, very good on a re-listen, and you pick up on things you never thought you would have heard before, some things that almost completely went over your head. Like, I believe it was, this was originally written by Dave Mustaine, and it was meant to be a song about, like, sexual frustration before it became a song about the four horsemen of the apocalypse, from what I've been told. Because apparently the ideas for sexual frustration went into the song Mechanics, which I believe was on the Killing Is My Business and Business Is Good Megadeth album. I can't quite remember off the top of my head how that is technically supposed to go, but by the time we get to it, we'll know for sure. Because something else that I've found out about the Four Horsemen is that there's this wonderful little bass riff that wasn't in the original recording but was added by the legendary Cliff Burton, and yeah, it's remarkable, really, just the kind of things that Cliff was able to do. It fucking sucks, really, just the fact that, how long has he been dead now? 34 years? And you know what? You don't forget people like Cliff, and I'll get to talking about that a bit more when it comes to And Justice for All, because I think we should acknowledge Cliff for, in fact, everyone really for their part, because Dave had as much as a part to play in this as everyone else. Well, at this time anyway, Robert Trujillo and Jason Newsted probably to a lesser extent, but with that being said and done, and I wasn't quite sure exactly where this was going, I think it's time we just revisited the Four Horsemen. So, if you guys want to check out the original video for yourselves, links will all be in the description down below. Let's begin. The Four Horsemen in 3, 2, 1, and... You know, also one of the great things that's just occurred to me, and I'll try to like pause this video as little as possible, but you could get Dave, you could have Megadeth perform this song, and I would be very hard pressed to say whether or not there would be anything different about it, because this is written absolutely like a Dave Mustaine song. And for those who don't know, one of my favourite Megadeth songs ever made is Good Morning Black Friday, because it is, and I'll get to talk about that, because Four Horsemen is also one of the absolute best Metallica songs they've ever done, and I don't think that's particularly much of a surprise, but I'll get to that in a second. I don't want to take anything away from this so far. Just you've got some company, all right.
You've been dying to stay said that twice. Believe your confessions now. Cause now you got the mind of your life. Horsemen are drawing nearer. Unless the steeds they ride, they come to take our life. Onto the dead of night. With the horsemen ride. Or do you face and die? Oh yeah, yeah.
Just, I think it's, you know what, I'm just going to do something very, very important, because I kind of have to make sure this is almost on full because of what's going to come next. But I think it's a massive thing whenever there's any group, young or old, and they go, oh yeah, yeah. It gives, without that, you would be hard pressed to say whether or not they were really into it. Because when you think about it, shouting, oh yeah, yeah, is basically just a thing added in. It's not necessarily going to, make a difference or make a big improvement, but it's kind of like it's like flavor coloring. Is that you could have like a Victoria sponge, but with a bit of food coloring, you could make it red or blue or green or yellow or any color you wanted. It's adding something, and it's taking something that's a bit ordinary and basic, and basically just putting a coat of paint on it. That's kind of like what that little things like that. It makes Metallica very, very vibrant in their subject matter, in their music, and in particular one of their best loaded traits of what's going to be coming up almost immediately in about 30 seconds. If you don't know what that is, then strap yourselves in, because this is going to be one of those moments where it's going to hit the heavy metal G spot. You have been warned.
Total on you, the line can crack your face. Batman's body, it has torn through, withered in every place. That's the last of what you have to endure, or what you have put others through. Death, deliverance for you for sure. Now there's nothing you can do.
And so, ladies and gentlemen, with a very, very sore neck in tow, that was The Four Horsemen by Metallica. Now, you remember how I was saying earlier about how the "oh yeah yeah" is basically it's like food coloring. It's like taking something ordinary and making it even more special. What would you say, ladies and gentlemen, if I told you that there exists in a parallel universe where this song is only 4 minutes in length? Would you believe me if I told you there was a version of The Four Horsemen that was only half as long? But in doing that, they got rid of those two solos, and there was like no gap whatsoever. It was just verse. It was like verse 1, chorus, verse 2, chorus, verse 3, chorus, job done. Do you realize exactly how important a solo really is in a song? Now, I'm not saying that every song in the world needs one. There are many exceptions for that. But do you honestly think Metallica would have just been seen as being left to the wayside as just another metal group from the 80s if there wasn't something extra special about them? In the same vein as Iron Maiden, the same vein as Overkill, and the same for Black Sabbath for that matter, do you really think any of those guys would have been remembered if there wasn't something like a pincher? Something that is going to grip the audience by the testicles and pull them in for a kiss. That is what Metallica, and from the very early days, they were able to do that. And it goes without saying, ladies and gentlemen, and I have to say this again, these were kids. They weren't even 20 years old when they brought this together. Do you not know what I would probably have given if I could have played like this? If my name was credited as the writer for The Four Horsemen or Disposable Heroes or Enter Sandman, well, for one, the royalties for me would be going through the roof, and I wouldn't be making this video. I'd probably be in a penthouse suite somewhere in Times Square. I'd probably buy Times Square if I could. But just again, first off, that sweet transition from dun 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 dun. It's imagine if you were in the 80s and you had this on cassette. You were in your Walkman. You were just cruising down the street and you were just talking about how you were going to hear that some actor called Johnny Depp was going to be in a movie called Nightmare on Elm Street, and then all of a sudden you think to yourself, oh, is the next song started already? I mean, that's pretty short. But no, this is all part of the same. This is all part of the package. And that is... what I have to emphasize, what I mean by that is that everything that was put into this, I mean, any song really that's released has to be released with the full intention that everything that could have been done, everything that could have been added, everything that could have been taken away and rewritten, it all has to come together. You can't just release a song, just half-assed. You can't just really cook a steak half-cooked. You can't really do it with that in music. You have to serve up exactly what it is you want to serve up and what you want your audience to enjoy. And call it a hunch or something call it a hunch, ladies and gentlemen, but the older that Kill 'Em All gets, the more it will be remembered, because this is the kind of enthusiasm, this is the kind of energy, this is the kind of power that just from the music alone has to continue. And because if it didn't, then heavy metal music would just grow stale and old and just a gem of the past. And, well, if there's anything to go by through groups like Havoc or Code Orange or Bring Me the Horizon, that trend is far from over. Even though I've actually never listened to Bring Me the Horizon, but I heard they're good. Might have to check them out at some point. Now, remember what I was saying earlier as well about how I could have told you that this sounded like something that Dave Mustaine would have wrote, and I think in some ways I was kind of right about that, because I know there's definitely a lot of Megadeth material out there that's about, you know, dystopian societies, like urban myths, killers, you know, their mascot, Vic Rattlehead, looks like something that came out of a B-list slasher film. And a lot of the songs talk about, you know, mass destruction, serial killers, and they even did some music for for Doom or Duke Nukem, I seem to believe. Like, how much more metal can you get than that? And bearing in mind, Metallica is the group that has metal in its name. As a stable point of view, if you pardon the pun there. Now, there's only like one more thing I really want to say about Four Horsemen, because, and I'm gonna refer to this a little bit later on when I talk about Master of Puppets again, because there's a lot of parts in the Four Horsemen that I didn't recognize earlier that seem to have been like purposely sort of like a prelude to Master of Puppets. And I will explain exactly what I mean by that when I get to Master of Puppets, because lo and behold, ladies and gentlemen, when I come to talk about Master of Puppets again, I want it to be the single most concrete, the most comprehensive video ever talking about Master of Puppets ever. And Four Horsemen, I'm going to have to make sure to go back, listen to this a couple of times, just to pin down everything I want to say about it. It's not going to be your run-of-the-mill reaction video, I'll say that much. But then again, Metallica isn't just your average run-of-the-mill band. No way, Jose. So anyway, I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. Please leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section down below. Let me know what you guys thought of the Four Horsemen for yourselves. And I hope to see you guys again in the next video. Take care. Bye-bye for now.